once again to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. Guess what? I am Mr. Warren Hayes, and this is currently my show. So thank you for joining me on this edition, which is going to be the Raw recap show for the October 8th, 2018 edition of WWE Monday Night Raw. And boy, oh boy, what an evening it was. Wouldn't you agree? Ladies, men, children who may also be watching this. It was quite something. I think we were treated to something special, but we're going to get into it in a little bit, because to start off, as I usually do, I'm going to plug myself. Why wouldn't I? If I don't plug myself, who will? Will it be you? Or you? What about you? Not even 2 minutes in and I'm already doing bits. It's going to be a long evening, folks. Man, no. I'm going to have a great time. But yeah, no, just before we do go on, as you know, tomorrow, SmackDown Live, that means that my SmackDown Live review is going to follow. Now, I'm going to try something new. I'm trying something different. Hopefully this will all work out, because, this is a bit of a live beta test, what I'm going through, essentially. But I'm going to try and get my recap shows, my reviews, onto YouTube faster than before. So instead of waiting till fully the next day, like around lunchtime, which is usually where I post my videos, maybe this will be available within an hour or two after Monday Night Raw. So I'm going to try and do the same thing with SmackDown on Tuesday. So hopefully that'll happen. Regardless, there will be a SmackDown recap review show that you can go to the bank on. You can count on that. You can take it to the bank, but you've already banked on the bank. So I'm running out of similes here. Anyway, so that's that. So we're going to have that. And then on Wednesday, as usual, I'm going to be doing my 205 Live NXT Mae Young Classic review over on FightfulSelect.com, the premium service of Fightful.com, premier combat sports news website, getting all of your pro wrestling, MMA, boxing, all together into one happy site, And if you can also just focus on pro wrestling if that's what you're really into. You don't really care about the others, which is fine. Or you just want to get a better, you want to have razor sharp focus, laser sharp razor. But razors are pretty sharp too. So yeah, you can do that as well. You go on to FightfulWrestling.com, and then you get all your wrestling news. But then FightfulSelect.com gives you a whole bunch of extra content, tons of extra content that you would like. For example, you get members-only podcasts. You get Sean Ross Sapp, managing editor over there at Fightful.com. He does the Weekender podcast where he goes through. He talks about non-WWE wrestling shows such as Impact, Lucha Underground, Ring of Honor, New Japan. He talks about Being the Elite, 12 Pounds of Gold. Reviews, goes over the weekend news, injury reports. Look, it's a fantastic show that he does every week. I do, like I said, my NXT 205 Live Mae Young Classic podcast every Wednesday. I do it live. So if you're a member, you can jump right in, come and join me in the chat. It's a fun time. So we can do that together. Just you and me. We do it together. You get retro pay-per-views, retro reviews for old pay-per-views. I do those with Sean. Q&A sessions, dark match commentary. Go check it out. It starts at $5 a month. $5 a month, and you get a whole bunch of extra content. You support an excellent site with excellent people working excellently for it. So why don't you do that? Go become a member. And at the very least, just come join me. And you can do that $5 a month. That's nothing. So, of course, I'll be doing that again this Wednesday, right after the Mae Young Classic. And then on Saturday, I may have something up my sleeve. Ooh la la. Ooh la la. More to come on that. That was a bit of a teaser. But it's a pretty cool tease, if you ask me. It'll be a lot of fun. So yeah, so there you go. So those are my plugs for the week. This weekend was the showdown over in Australia, Melbourne, Australia. I don't know if you've heard about it. They've talked about it so much. And now it's done. It's in the can. If you want to know what I thought about it, I usually don't do pay-per-view reviews or recaps. But I did do one this time, along with Sean Ross Sapp, over on Fightful.com, not on FightfulSelect.com, Fightful.com. If you head over there, you can take a look at our recap of the show. You'll see exactly what I thought. Overall, I thought it was a good show. I had a lot of fun. Good show with some bizarre booking decisions, though. I thought there were some very strange decisions that were made regarding that show. But I liked it. You know, as far as an international show that wasn't a traditional pay-per-view, I thought it delivered. It delivered a lot more than Greatest Royal Rumble. There were matches that had stakes, that felt important, that were great. My only problem is Samoa Joe. I really thought that Samoa Joe was going to win this time around. If you're a faithful listener to my online nonsense here, and you know that I believed that Samoa Joe was going to come out on top, because I really sincerely felt that he needed this win more than AJ could, or AJ did. Since returning from injury, Samoa Joe has not won a major match. He has not won a major feud. And the thing with Samoa Joe, the basic principle of his character is that he's a menacing heel. When he speaks, he's intimidating, he's frightening, and you believe that when he says he's coming to get you, he's coming to get you, you know? And he's so convincing in his delivery that, you know, there's no question, you got to look out for this guy. He's legit dangerous. But if he keeps losing matches like he has, there's no need to fear this guy. You know, it's good. At this point, Joe is more like, well, you know, he talks a really good game. But when you think about it, and you can go back in my archives, I've talked about this on numerous occasions. He came back last year, and he challenged Brock Lesnar. You remember he challenged Brock Lesnar for the Universal title. Said, you know, if there's one guy who can take out Brock Lesnar, it's me. And he didn't. He didn't take him out. He did the same thing with Roman Reigns this year, saying, you know, Roman, I'm the only guy who can put you down. He didn't. He lost the ladder match at the Greatest Royal Rumble. He lost all of his pay-per-view matches. He lost the Money in the Bank. That's all that's been happening. He's been losing match after match after match. I really thought that we were going to do it here, that Joe was going to come out WWE champion. Would have been pretty fantastic, but it didn't. And speaking of fantastic, Buddy Murphy versus Cedric Alexander was that was so good, you guys. You have to go take a look at it if you haven't watched the show yet. At least just isolate that. Joe and AJ was fantastic as well. Those are the two matches that you really should go out of your way to go check out if you haven't watched the show yet. Go take a look at those two matches. They were fantastic. But I enjoyed myself. I thought it was a fun show. Yes, good job, World Wrestling Entertainment, to keep me entertained worldwide. All right. You know what time it is, folks? You know what time it is for It's time for bold predictions. Yes, the bold predictions. Every time that there is a Raw or a SmackDown show, I go on Twitter a couple of hours beforehand and I ask people to feed me their boldest predictions for the show. And then I use them here on my show to see what kind of crazy, bold predictions viewers out there, followers on my timeline on Twitter get to come up with, invent, create. Some of them is very wishful thinking. Some of them are just completely out there. Some of them are a beautiful combination of both. And I like to highlight a few of these. And we got some good ones this week. Well, let's take a look at them. We're going to start with the Fifth Doctor. It says Shane McMahon returns with the NWO. That is very bold. Just at this point, Shane McMahon returning in and about itself would be a bold prediction. We haven't seen Shane in quite a while. So just on that end, that would be a very bold prediction. Good call, Fifth Doctor. NJPWUS, my buddy Wilfred, who does a podcast. He does a couple of them, actually. He has a podcast called Wilfred Watches, or NJWPUS, which is a podcast about New Japan Pro Wrestling, but from an American. And it's a cool podcast if you like New Japan, and if you don't, it's also a good way to get into it. Or not if you don't like it, but if you don't know about it. Because if you don't like something, I'm not going to sit around here and try to convince you to like it. You know, to each their own, right? But if you want to get into New Japan, go check him out. You can see his Twitter handle right there, NJPWUS. Go check that out. Find his podcast. It's fantastic stuff. Maybe that's what I have. Maybe that's what I have planned for Saturday. You never know. Be on his podcast kind of thing. Oh, you never know. You never know. Anyway, Wilfred from the New Japan Pro Wrestling US podcast says chess tournament. Well, that's pretty bold. Darth Zenith says Conor McGregor turns up on Raw and lays out Roman Reigns, perhaps a glass of whiskey in one hand, right? You know, I mean, if he can take out a bus, he can take out Roman Reigns, right? That's a bold prediction, Darth. Good job. Nathan says Braun, Ziggler, and McIntyre go on a real-life purge of the undercard, which I'm assuming Nathan is referring to the Purge series of movies and now a major television event over on USA Network, from what I understand. Yes, well, that'd be frightening. Actual bloodshed all over Raw. Sure, why not? You know, you have Vince McMahon sitting in his, like, I've only watched the first Purge movie, so I don't know all the intricate lore of the series. But yeah, I would definitely see like Vince McMahon, you know, sitting at his desk and saying, once a year, you know, once a year, all you WWE superstars get to kill each other. You get to settle your things with murder. And only the strong survive, and those who die are no longer under contract for WWE. I could see that. Good job, Nathan. Very bold prediction. Next we have me, but not really me. It's WWE Gibson stuff over on Twitter. He says Vince McMahon and Stone Cold win the Raw tag titles. And I'm going to transition this bold prediction into the next one here. From Yo Khalid. Mankind returns and challenges Roman for the Universal title and wins due to Stone Cold interference. A lot of people doing bold predictions based on the Attitude Era, and what we saw tonight with the opening segment, we weren't all that far off from the full-blown Attitude Era comeback. So bold predictions, guys, but also not that bold either. Good job. And CM Rebel says, spoiler, Tonight's Raw will feature Roman versus Dolph in a cage for the Universal title. Finish will see Dolph tap Roman out, then jump over the cage and start beating up Ambrose, Rollins, Michael Cole, and some fans wearing Bullet Club shirts. That was a bold prediction right there. Don't know if it was a callback to what happened in UFC this weekend, but you know. And I think this is our final bold prediction, if my memory serves me right. Mike in PA1 says, after seeing the bald heads of HBK and Triple H at the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia appears via satellite and demands Vince McMahon have them start a hair club for men treatment ASAP before November 2nd, while dumping $2 million in cash for this treatment, because that's what the Saudis do. They arrive with their big bucks, and then people do whatever they want. It's the new $1 Million Man gimmick. Oh no, I had one more. I did have one more. Joshua Anderson, Undertaker challenges HBK, but HBK says he will only come out of retirement to face Kurt Hawkins. That is not only bold, that would be bold. That is bold and beautiful. Good job, Joshua. Good job, everyone. Thank you very much for your bold predictions. There will definitely be more on the other day, Tuesday. That's the other day of the week, right? That there's Raw WWE stuff. There'll be more of these bold predictions over there. But right now, we're going to go into WWE Raw. Man, let's get this going. Starting off with Triple H and HBK. In a little segment, Trips is in no mood to be corporate tonight. He's coming out in all his beautiful daddy leather. HBK comes out as well with his hat. They started talking about, or at least Triple H starts talking about it. It took them 20 years to get to the top of the mountain. And at Super Showdown, they were at the very top. But then what happens when an avalanche falls on top of you? Now, I am no mountaineer. I will not sit here and pretend that I understand all the intricacies of mountains and their spatial positioning. I'm not even going to go as far as to say that I understand the laws of physics. But if you are at the top of the mountain, how does an avalanche fall on you? I'm just saying. The guys say that the word respect has lost a lot of significance lately. Respect is sticking to your word despite everyone else creating all the opportunities for you to drop your word, to change your word. And sometimes you respect people for what they used to be, and now not as much. HBK says, all of these things that happened in Australia, I was about ready to bail, give up on all this nonsense. I'm too old for this crap kind of thing. But then he says, I was about to do that until I heard the words. 3 words. Are you ready? And then that's the switch, right? It just flicks everything on and everyone starts going cuckoo crazy bananas. Then they legitimately refer to themselves as DX. Sean says that he's doing he's about to say something without an ounce of respect to it, talking to Kane and Undertaker. If you're not down with this, I have 2 words for you, suck it. And this will set up a match at Crown Jewel between the Brothers of Destruction and DX. And they reveal new merch. They have new t-shirts. People who love the Attitude Era so much were probably trying to tune in to 2 different televisions at the same time to try and bring up the quarter hour ratings, as we all sat back and watched during the day, analyzing every quarter hour to make sure who was on top and who wasn't. You know, this is the big question, right? That everyone has been asking. You know, well, if this is what you're going to do, if you're bringing in your old timers, your part timers, is this proof that WWE isn't creating new stars? Is it proof? I don't know. Is it a symptom? Is it a problem? Yeah. I think the problem is that WWE is having difficulty creating larger than life personas. Individuals, wrestlers that transcend the brand itself. They're so focused on creating brands on top instead of actual character development these days that it makes it difficult, I find, for their creative teams to fully flesh out and develop characters, because they want brands. That's what they want. So it's a lot more difficult, and I think they are painting themselves into a corner. But the thing is here, despite, I mean, this is an argument to have, a very civil argument, no doubt, to have on Twitter. They won't be civil if you have that kind of argument, for sure. But the point here is that even if they are going to the part-timers and bringing them in, they are nonetheless attractions. They're marquee matches, they're attractions, but they're not main events, and they should not be superseding the current roster. They should not be booked on top over existing stars, because you're not helping building stars if you're saying that your top guys from 30 years ago, 25 years ago, 20, 25, 30 years ago, if they're the ones that you need to headline, and it's not a vote of confidence, and you're not getting your audience used to these new stars that you're trying to build. It kind of feels like a certain era of WCW back in the 90s. I find WWE did it well at the Greatest Royal Rumble with their old timers coming in, or the part timers. Let's call them the part timers. I don't want to call them old timers. You know, they had John Cena and Triple H, right? They had that open Greatest Royal Rumble, and that set the tone. It set the mood. It got people excited. You had the cruiserweight match afterwards, and it had built momentum. It was a good move. It was smart. Then they had Taker and Rusev. The match was somewhat short, and that was good. That's what it was for. You had the classic super long Undertaker entrance, but the match didn't overstay its welcome. Now, you could argue that Rusev should have won because it would have done more for him than it did for Taker, and I agree. But the point is that the part-timers were used intelligently here. They were used there to enhance the card. Here, or at least in Australia, they were main eventing. Now, they're putting a lot of emphasis on this again. Brothers of Destruction versus DX. And it bugs me. I don't know why they're going down this route. Because, like I said previously, it just detracts from your current performers. It's not a good vote of confidence. Doesn't help your audience get used to new talent as being on top if you put on top guys who barely wrestle anymore. And to be perfectly honest, I was really hoping that they were going to be over with this Triple H Undertaker stuff, but apparently not. And it wasn't that great a match. It was a lot of smoke and mirrors. It was overbooked, the match at the Triple H Undertaker match that they had at Super Showdown. But what are you going to do? They apparently think it's worth going back to this well again. I don't know. Bobby Lashley and Kevin Owens was our next match. Now, All right, just very quickly. Lashley starts using some power offense on Owens, and then very quickly, you hear Lio Rush starting to talk. He's hyping up his guy on the microphone. Now, I'm sitting there and I'm like, wow, this feels weird. This isn't good. It's not going to get Bobby Lashley over. This is a heel thing to do. To grab a microphone and go, hey, all right, buddy, hey, let me... and start trash talking the opposition, that's going to get annoying really, really fast. So I straight off the bat, and I have it in my notes here, like, that's a heel tactic. It's not a face tactic. But how I would be proven wrong later on in the fight, or as the fight progressed anyway. The match goes on. Lots of power offense by Bobby Lashley. There's some good back and forth as well between he and Kevin Owens. Rush tries to get the WWE fans to chant for Lashley, and they boo. And again, I'm like, this is such a weird tactic, because of course nobody's going to want to be forced to chant for anyone. Of course this is going to generate negative reactions from the crowd. And then Owens starts getting some offense in. He hits a superb tope con hilo onto Bobby Lashley on the outside. Gets back into the ring to a massive pop. But I mean, his move was, it was wonderful. The audience popped huge when he got back into the ring. They start turning on Lashley. And then I'm like, wait a second. Hang on here. Are we witnessing a double turn? I sat back and I just let it go. Lashley starts fighting back with punches, or at least they trade punches. And every time Lashley lands a punch, he gets booed. People are strongly behind Owens. There's even a fight Owens fight chant at some point. Lashley hits a big spine buster on Owens, does his stalling suplex, gets a cover, but only gets a 2. Owens hits a goddamn Stone Cold Stunner. Crowd goes nuts. He goes to the top rope, but Lio Rush distracts him, and Lashley then gets the upper hand. He hits his reverse dominator thing for the clean win on KO. And after the match, Lashley goes back after Kevin Owens, starts working his knee, both of his knees. He beats him up. Just as Lio Rush continues to hype him. And then I'm like, yeah, we've just seen a double turn. And I'm shocked. But in the most pleasant way. I mean, first of all, it explains why Bobby Lashley didn't get more of a babyface rub from John Cena at Super Showdown. I thought the match, I felt that match had been booked strictly to help get some babyface good graces bestowed onto him by John Cena, because that's the only reason I saw how that match should be built. But Lashley was babyface in peril for most of the match. John Cena got the hot tag, did a couple of moves, and that was that. And when he did his post match interview promo, he didn't even mention Bobby Lashley. He said, "Oh, WWE's always home," and it felt so curious to me that they didn't take this opportunity for John to sort of put Lashley over, get the rub, literally. But this explains why. They're turning Bobby Lashley heel in a move which is spectacularly smart. It is such a good idea, because getting him over as a babyface is not working. It's not working. Are they reading the room? Can they read the room for once? Is that what they're doing? They're realizing that people don't want to cheer for him. They feel forced into it. All right, well then, let's force it. Let's really make sure that we're shoving this guy down your throat so that you can really hate him. I mean, what else is there to do with Bobby Lashley than otherwise try a heel turn? And this is super smartly done. This was really, really well done. He has the guy on the mic to do it who can be super annoying and who has great banter. He can, Lio Rush can manage a microphone, no problem. He can get out and look, it just worked. It just worked. And I swear to God, we just had a double turn executed before our eyes without anyone realizing that this was going to happen. We're like, blah, 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 blah. And Kevin Owens as a babyface, again, super credible. Might as well try to get him over as a babyface because they don't have it. He could get over as a heel or a babyface. My point here is give him something to do. Give him something to do that will make us care about him because we want to care about Kevin Owens. That's the thing. He's so good at everything he does. And he can still be very smarmy and sarcastic. Doesn't have to become a choir boy, a white meat babyface choir boy. He can still be Kevin Owens, prize fighter. And then maybe he can return to some of that explosive offense that we really, really like so much about him. Anyway, I dug this segment a lot and I was not expecting it. And that's what was fun. And that was fun with a lot of what happened on Raw tonight. I love it when wrestling is unpredictable, when it surprises me, but in a good way, because sometimes it surprises me and it disappoints me. But I like it when they're trying stuff, and there was a lot of let's try some stuff out tonight that I really, really appreciated, that I really, really liked. This was the first example of that. There's a couple of others. Backstage, we have Finn Balor and Bayley who are talking about their upcoming rematch against Jinder Mahal and Alicia Fox. I haven't been following the Mixed Match Challenge, so I don't know how things are progressing. But this is obviously to hype up these matches. In comes Lio Rush, who's with Bobby Lashley. And he says, here's your real interview here. Never mind these two chumps. Bobby Lashley, look at this man. He just defeated Kevin Owens. You should be asking him about stuff. And then he uses a too sweet at the very end. No, see, that's a great way to get some legit heat right there. You never use, it's sacred ground. Using it too sweet is sacred ground. You're treading on very sacred ground. Yeah, so, yeah. I'm digging Lio Rush and Bobby Lashley as heels. Elias is in the ring. He has a segment where he says when Triple H and all the legends speak of WWE, they're speaking of me because WWE means Walk with Elias. Then he starts going off on John Cena. He says he wrote a song about what happened in Australia. It mocks Cena's hair. And then he says the Cubs. In this song, he says the Cubs won't be making the World Series. Of course, generates heat. And he's corpsing again because the heat's really got intense. But at least this time, WWE knew when to cut it, and they had Ronda Rousey's music hit to interrupt the whole thing and keep the audience from going into a swell of jeers like last Monday in Seattle, which was legendary. But Elias still was corpsing tonight. I thought it was awesome. So basically, Ronda coming out. Ogles a song. Ogles? Not Ogles. Eggs a song. Ogles? Ogles? Is that even a word? Ogles us on. What the hell am I thinking? Wait. Ogles. Let me take a look at this. Ogles. Ogles is a word. Related to Dutch Ogen, to look at. From oog eye. Okay, so to look. But I thought it was oogle. You oogle someone or something. It's not ogling? Okay. Well, at least I didn't invent a word. Anyway, we have Ronda Rousey and the Bella Twins versus the Riot Squad. As if the little confrontation between Brie and Liv this last Saturday at Super Showdown wasn't enough. They went to that well again, and that was cool. Liv was in no mood. That slap she gave Brie at the beginning of the match, that had a little more harumph behind it as usual. Wouldn't you say? Props to both Liv and Brie here. I mean, for Brie to take her receipts like a big girl. I think it was a classy thing to do, to let Liv get in some good licks here. Brie tries to go for some yes kicks. I'm pretty sure someone told Brie to never do those again. But Liv trashes her. They brawl all the way outside of the ring, and they have to be separated by their own respective teams. So I like that. Blurring the lines between reality and kayfabe is always cool. Back from commercial, Ruby is in the ring with Nikki Bella, who hits a big spine buster on Ruby. A little later on, Rudy Riot, the brother of Ruby Riot. Rudy Riot was watching at home, whereas his sister Ruby hit an STO on Brie on the outside. Brie is your babyface in peril for the majority of the match, which is fine. And I think they're definitely doing this to cover up the fact that she's not ring ready. That's why they had Nikki do most of the offense along with Ronda here. So the heels cut her off, from the baby faces, basically in peril. Rousey eventually gets the hot tag, does her fireman's carry slam into an armbar. The finish seemed a little long, though, because Rousey was, waiting for interference to happen. You could tell she was waiting for stuff to happen. The girls on the outside didn't react as crisply as they could have, I guess. But Rousey and the Bella Twins get the win until Nikki Bella attacks Ronda Rousey from behind. And both Bella Twins start to stomp on Ronda. Ronda battles back, and she slams Nikki down, but the Bellas get the upper hand again. They beat her up on the outside of the ring, on the inside of the ring, and they stand tall over her. The beating was okay. It was... You kind of feel Ronda Rousey could, probably take it a little easier. A little more. Probably could tell the Bella Twins, come on. Make it look good kind of thing. It was okay. They stand over her. They stand tall over her. But this is it's smart. I have mixed feelings on this. This is one of the things, like when I was telling there's some good things and bad things on Raw. Here's a very good example here, encapsulated into one. First of all, the match was serviceable. It was fine. There's nothing to complain about the match. It was perfectly okay. Everyone did their work. Everyone did their jobs. It was good. It was fine. Now, when we get to the heel turn here, the Bellas turning heel is probably the best damn thing that they could do with the Bellas right now, because I think that most of the WWE universe will take great pleasure in booing the hell out of them both. No, but I don't think they generate all that much sympathy I don't think they get the proper babyface reactions that perhaps were expected. I don't know if this was the plan all along, to have them turn heel for Evolution, but this was a bit of a fishy one the whole time that their entire return. I think I think WWE doesn't give its audience enough credit. I think everyone sort of felt it was contrived. No one really buys into Nikki Bella as a legit contender since she hasn't been wrestling for the better part of 18 months. You know, I don't think, like, I think people are more poised to say, not these guys again, boo. And now they're just going to give reason for us to do that. That's smart booking. That's reading the room. But on the other hand, this is setting up Ronda Rousey versus Nikki Bella at Evolution. And I don't think that's a good idea. I really don't. Ronda has been improving, but she's very green. Nikki has never been a stellar worker. She's been solid. She's been consistent. But she's not the type of worker that could bring Ronda to something fantastic at this stage in Ronda's career. I can only hope at this point that the Raw Women's Championship is not the main event. It'll probably be high up on the card, but maybe it won't be the main event. I'm actually hoping that it's not the main event. I'm hoping that they have something big planned for Charlotte and Becky at Evolution with a big stip that will overshadow this. Keep my fingers crossed. But it's kind of weird that right now your marquee main attraction match involves women who contributed to the evolution of wrestling, but who have not been a part of the true transformation of women's wrestling in WWE over the past 3 to 4 years. Yeah, it's a little strange. All right, so we get Finn Balor and Bayley versus Jinder Mahal and Alicia Fox. Not much to say here. Jinder at first gets a lot of momentum in that opening body slam that he does on Finn, and it almost looked like Finn was slipping out of his hands. He was flipping him around. He flipped him around so with such gusto. He covers Finn, only gets one, and then we go into chin locks. You know, the WWE, okay, I understand, I get it, and I know that a heel is supposed to slow down the pace of a match. He's supposed to make it feel a little more plodding and be in control, so that when the babyface makes his comeback, it's much more explosive and surprising, and it gets us into it. But being a plodding heel does not necessarily equate, does not immediately equate to chin locks and being dull. And that's a sin. It's a sin. Anyway, Bayley is the babyface in peril for the better part of the match. Alicia Fox doesn't do much in this fight, and I know she can go more than she did here. Balor gets the hot tag, hits his signature offense. There's some shenanigans with Sunil Singh, who crashes off the apron when Bayley gets tossed onto him. But Balor hits the coup de grace for the win. Backstage, we have the Dogs of War. And Dolph is psyching up the big guys, but Drew is having nothing of it. And he's like, you know what we need to do? We know what we need to do. I'm sick of you calling the shots, because you're the one who got beat in Australia. Ooh. Braun, he says, you should worry about putting your own weight. And Braun says, and he reminds him that the reason that they're here, because he's tired of hearing them bickering, he says, the reason that you're here is to watch my back so I can win the Universal title, because that's best for all of us. And I don't see how it's best for both of them if Braun is Universal Champion. Baron Corbin is backstage, runs into Heath Slater, who says he wants to be in the Battle Royal, but there's just one problem. He says, you're just not any good. Now, that could come across as a burial, but it could also come across as an opportunity, or perhaps the opening salvo for a storyline involving Heath Slater, and I am here for that. The Global Battle Royal happens. It was just, you know what? It was just silly enough and just long enough for it to be, and with a wonderful payoff to make it good, because I was super apprehensive when I saw the ring filled with goofy guys in jabroni costumes. But it was very much in Baron Corbin's character to set up a battle royal that, you know, or to say, you know, I would have placed myself within the World Cup of WWE, whatever it's called, the WWE World Cup. I would have placed myself in it, but to show that I earned my spot, I'm going to put myself in the global battle royal here. I got talent from across the world. Let me run down the competitors one more time, just in case you've forgotten their illustrious names. From Russia, we had Gregor Valkin. From Egypt, that's how Baron Corbin pronounces Egypt. Egypt, the Sultan of Shawarma. Mexico, we had the El Hombre Sin Nombre. From Poland was Stanislav the Squeezer. From Chile was the Chilean Sea Bass. Antarctica had Winston von Voorhees. Belgium was the Belgium Waffler. Spain was the Conquistador, which I thought was a nice throwback. And I thought it was Heath Slater. And Luxembourg had Thunder Montgomery. And basically, you know, this was all Corbin tossing these guys out of the ring. He eventually gets through everyone, but the Conquistador had rolled out of the ring under the bottom rope and was just waiting for the match was just waiting. So when Baron threw everyone out, there was no one left in the ring. He thought he'd won, but no, the Conquistador was left. Got in the ring, started fighting him. Well, hit 3 German suplexes and an angle slam. Could it be? And then the Conquistador threw Baron Corbin over the top rope. Could it be? Yes, it was General Manager Kurt Angle, still on vacation, but who was revealed to be the man under the Conquistador mask. I thought that was great, and for the short time that Kurt Angle was in there, he had his comedic timing on spot when he was doing the dance in the ring at the end. You know, he still has those wonderful characteristics that we love about Kurt. So this is nice. So Kurt basically is going to be at at Crown Jewel, along with John Cena. John Cena got a bye. He didn't have to qualify. He just got put into the match because he's John Cena. He's a free agent. He can go on Raw or SmackDown whenever he likes, and then he can be put in any tournament whenever he likes because he's John Cena. Bias to John Cena. There's bias in WWE management regarding John Cena. Bias. Yes, that was my rant. My very legitimate rant. For some reason, we had Nia Jax face off against Ember Moon. They are friends, but now they are fighting. Wasn't much to this. Ember looked good. She made Nia look good as well. Ember goes for an arm drag, but Nia blocks it. She hits an enziguri. Cross body block by Ember gets blocked. She's caught by Nia. She tosses Ember around the ring for a while. The crowd is dead for this, FYI, which is a shame. Ember hits a Rana on Nia Jax, though. Basement drop kicks her then immediately to the outside, and then does her dive to the outside, but Nia stays on her feet. They fool around outside the ring. Yes, outside the ring. Yeah. That's what I was going to say, and I said it, and then I tried to correct myself, but I didn't need to correct myself. I was saying the right words. Nia Jax is tossing Ember around outside the ring. And then, but Ember Moon dodges a shoulder block, and Nia lands shoulder first into the LED screen, the ring LED screen. While the ref is counting, Ember gets back in and beats the count, but Nia Jax does not. Ember Moon wins by countout, and they hug it out at the end because they're such good friends. We have a Trish Stratus segment. I'm telling you guys, the Attitude Era is alive and well. All y'all who are complaining that everything was so much better in the Attitude Era, well, there you go. Look at it. Right? You get Brothers of Destruction in DX. Now you got Trish Stratus and Lita. What else do you want from us? Mickie James. Yeah. So basically, Trish Stratus comes out and, she wants to call out Alexa Bliss for her Moment of Bliss segment from last week. But before she can do anything, really, Alexa Bliss comes out and she's accompanied by Mickie James, who is looking fantastic. What a piece of humanity Mickie James is. Those are some superior genes, ladies and gentlemen. Superior genetic material in that lady. They do some short jokes, of course. She says she had, Alexa says she had goosebumps, when she, when she realized that she was going to have her match against her idol, Trish Stratus. She started looking back at all her matches, and she realized by looking at the matches that, Trish, you suck. Which isn't entirely wrong. It's not. No, that's not fair. Warren. Trish Stratus does not suck. No, she does not suck. But I think her in-ring work has been vastly overblown. The quality of her in-ring work has been vastly overblown over the years. This takes nothing away from what she did, because let's not forget that Trish Stratus came in as a valet. And that's all she was supposed to be, a valet. And she wanted to get the training. She wanted to put some time in the ring. She pushed for that. And she became a very effective, consistent wrestler who could perform, who had charisma, who connected with the audience as well. She could do face. She could do heel. Her contributions are undeniable. Her in-ring work, well, we could have discussions over that. As to how she'd hold up today, and especially when there were actually other wrestlers, like legitimate female wrestlers who had been training all their lives to do that, like Ivory, like Jacqueline, like Mickie James back then, who were able to get fantastic matches out of her as well. She's not a dud, but that's why her match with Alexa was perfect, because they have similar paths. They have their contributions, what they do in the ring, what they do as WWE superstars is very, very similar. It would have been very interesting to see what happens, but that's not what we're getting. We have a whole bunch of back and forth between Alexa and Mickie, and basically Alexa and Mickie say, well, why don't we have Trish, Trish says, that's it. Trish says that she's going to put a legendary beating on you, on them. And, Mickie says, well, I'd like to know what a legendary beating feels like. Why don't we just have a tag team match then in Evolution? And Trish is like, okay, I wonder who my partner could be. And Lita's music hits, comes down to the ring. They start fighting, mostly Mickie taking the bumps here because Alexa is injured. And this is basically the heels chicken away, and the baby faces are left standing tall. The Hall of Famers. Is Lita a Hall of Famer? Yeah, Lita's a Hall of Famer. Right. So basically, the singles matches that Lita and Trish were supposed to have are now becoming a tag team match, and I was giggling at people on my Twitter who were basically saying that this is, well, there you go. This is WWE management. This is proof that WWE management has no faith in Alexa Bliss to carry such a big match as her against Trish Stratus. And I honestly, guys, I really think you're putting way too much stock into anyone versus Trish Stratus as a big match, but that's just me. It's not that big a deal. But anyway, but everyone who's saying, they don't have any more faith in Alexa Bliss, that's it, they're done with her. I think that's pretty funny because on one hand, Alexa Bliss is injured. So this is one way to cover the injury. At least she'll be able to work the match, but without having to go through the whole match herself. And wouldn't you also think that it might be smart for them to protect one of their Hall of Famers who hasn't wrestled competitively since 2011? That might also come and factor in as well, because Trish is definitely full of ring rust. And look, you had one wrestler, Nikki Bella recently, who just took maybe 2 years off to have a baby, and comes back and she's full of ring rust just with 2 years off. And she had been training beforehand, and everyone was apparently like, oh yeah, she's ready. She's not ready. Trish is, and I'm not taking anything away from them, but chances are Trish isn't exactly ready either. We go backstage, and the Shield happen to find a camera on the ground, which just so happens to be broadcasting a live feed to the production truck, and the folks in the production truck decide to air their promo, where they basically say that they're a brotherhood, they're the one true constant, they're the hounds of justice, they are the Shield. You know what I liked about this segment though? It just looked different. You know, the found footage camera thing, I just liked it. The way it was shot, the effects they put on the video. It's different. They're trying stuff out, and I like it. Bobby Roode and Chad Gable versus The Ascension. Well, the fanboying continues here for Chad Gable. Connor cuts a quick promo at the start, and he says that he'll beat them. He beat them both previously, and he'll beat them tonight with his friend Victor. They will end the charade and send them back to the wasteland. So will the Ascension's push continue? Connor dominates Roode at first. Gable tags in, tries to help, but Victor cuts him off. Gable is your babyface in peril for the good part of the match. Crowd is dead for this, aside for a CM Punk chant. Roode gets the hot tag, and that still doesn't manage to raise the crowd's interest. He hits an inverted atomic drop, some chops on Victor, goes for his blockbuster. End comes when Gable tags himself in as Roode was about to do something off the second rope. Gable hits his rolling German into a bridge, into a bridge for the win. He rolls up into a German into a bridge for the pin. And Bobby Roode sort of comes over, and he's about to have a chat with young Chad. But the AOP run in, and they beat the tar out of everyone. They smash the hell out of Victor, out of Connor, out of Bobby Roode and Chad Gable, who valiantly try to put up a fight, but they can't because it's the bloody AOP. There you go. And that's how you book Authors of Pain. They shouldn't have been doing this 3 months ago when they came out. It doesn't matter. They're doing it now. We see Paul Heyman, who comes out, and he basically says he's here to see a fight, some legal thuggery, as he identified it as. That was the qualifier he put in. He cuts a promo saying putting over that Brock is smart because he doesn't fly around the world putting smiles on people's faces. That he's asleep in his bed. He's going to wake up in his home tomorrow morning and eat a home-cooked breakfast, then go train to become a two-sport champion. Basically, run-of-the-mill stuff was nonetheless entertaining, but it was a Paul Heyman promo. The Shield then come to the ring through the audience, then the Dogs of War, and we have our main event set up. There's a very tense stare down. I don't know what they were going for. I don't know if they were expecting the audience to sort of react to all six guys sort of staring at each other, but the crowd was like, yeah. You guys gonna fight? I don't know. I'm sure WWE was trying to milk a reaction here, but they didn't get the reaction that they wanted. This was a fun main event. It was fast-paced. It was brutal. It was cool. Drew's in control early on of Seth, who tags in Dean. They do a double team suplex on Drew. Drew gets Braun in, who tries to go after Dean, but then he manages to go and get Roman in through the magic of a tag. Excuse me. Roman tries to lift Braun, but he can't. He gets a shoulder block for his trouble. The Shield get rid of Dolph and Drew, tossing him out of the ring. Then Braun goes over to the floor and starts mouthing off at them, saying, you know, get your act together. What's wrong with you guys? You know, playing off what happened in the locker room segment a little earlier, just before, right? So back from commercial, Roman is your babyface in peril. Hits a Samoan drop on Braun, who gets the hot tag to Seth. Dodges Dolph, hits a dive on Drew to the outside. Comes back in, springboard forearm right on Dolph. That was a nice little segment. He gets a buckle bomb. No, a buckle bomb gets broken up by Drew, who is then taken out by Dean in return. Braun chokes Dean and Seth. Roman Superman punches Braun, who eats offense from Dean and Seth and is tossed to the outside. Double dives from Dean and Seth onto Dolph and Drew. Braun then grabs the Shield members again, and it's Roman who hits his big dive onto the outside, and that was a really cool sequence. Back from commercial, Seth is your babyface in peril here. He battles back, but Drew keeps him down. Dolph and Drew try to keep him cut off from his Shield brothers, but Seth hits an enziguri on Drew, and Braun beats up the other Shield fellas so that Seth continues to be isolated. Braun comes back in. He starts mouthing off at Dolph again, saying that that's how you pull your weight around here. He grabs Dolph by the throat as Dolph starts to talk back, but then Drew gets right into Braun's face, and the crowd was hot for Dolph and Drew and Braun to go at it. That was a reaction. That is perhaps something that, you know, WWE, you could give us. The Shield break up the party. Seth gets the hot tag to Dean. There's dives on Braun and Drew to the outside. They trade some blows. Dean looks for dirty deeds. Spine buster by Drew. Cover by... and goes into a cover, and Roman breaks it up. Seth suplexes Dolph to the outside and himself as well. Drew and Dean take each other out. Drew and Dean work so well together, though. Like, I would love them both to have an extended program. They've been a highlight throughout this entire feud, both of these guys together. Braun interrupts a Superman punch and takes out Roman. Dean dives, but Braun catches him, but Dean manages to hit a DDT. Roman then comes in with a spear. Back in the ring, Dean eats a Claymore, and the heels get the win. Dogs of War walk out on top here, and Dean walks away frustrated, leaving his Shield brothers in the ring. This is WWE storytelling at its finest, and I'm saying that sarcastically because, again, we're back with, oh, well, Dean might be leaving. But this is 2 weeks ago when they started establishing the fact that when the Dogs of War started pecking at Dean, we had this whole intrigue till the very end of the episode where it's like, is Dean leaving? Is Dean staying? And you remember Dean was, he was sitting in the middle of the, not sitting, but he was kneeling outside the ring, and he was wondering, should I go this way with my brothers? Should I go this way with the Dogs of War? And he decided, and then he went back in the ring and he did the fist bump with his bros, right? Right. So we were done. Then the week after, they have a segment at first where they invite Dean Ambrose to come to the ring. Dean, tell us, have you been thinking about leaving the Shield? And I'm like, what? I thought this was settled. And Dean was super defensive and cagey the whole way. And I'm like, wait, wasn't this issue settled last week? Wasn't this like an encapsulated thing? So, and they dragged that out that entire episode. And what happens at the very end? Well, Dean has a choice and he decides to stick with his brothers. You know, he feigns attacking That's it. He decides to stay with his brothers. Same thing at Super Showdown. They have a situation where you're wondering, oh, is Dean going to turn? But no, he doesn't. And now they're doing it again. But I think it's clear by now that it's been clear for a couple of weeks now that Dean is not leaving the Shield, that his loyalties are clear. But they're coming back to this well again. But why? Especially now, because this is how WWE operates as far as storytelling goes. He's not going to turn. Now it's been telegraphed. It's been brought to our full attention. He's not going to turn. It's not going to happen. We're going to be set up for a swerve. And as I said on Twitter, if you're a betting man, I think, and if you're going to go for a swerve, you put your money on Seth Rollins, because they're not going to turn Roman. They're not. And it's not even a merge thing. He's a guy. They want him to be the face of the company. They want him to be the guy, and he carries himself super well in PR situations. He's great with everyone. He's cool. It's not going to be him. I think the ultimate swerve is to have Seth turn on them again. That's how it should work. And it bums me out if that's the situation. I'll make $10 because I bet you $10 that this is going to happen. I'll make $10, but I'm going to be super bummed if this happens, because Seth is going to be back to being a heel, and I really dig him as a babyface, as a scrappy babyface. I think he's fantastic. Blah. I don't understand why they're doing this again. That's my point. That's what I don't understand. I don't get why WWE are still going back to this well with will he or won't he? I feel like we're treading water again. Just like I was saying last week, we're going from point A to 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 point A. You think the story's progressing, but it's not. It's always coming back to the same point. So that's that. That's my Raw review. I really liked Raw. I thought that they tried out a whole bunch of things, new directions. Look, I don't know who was writing tonight, but whoever was writing tonight, I say let him write again next week, and the week after that, and the week after that. They put a lot of surprises in here, a lot of twists, but it's as if they were compensating for something. You know, I was at some point I was like, well, why don't you keep a few surprises for the following weeks as well? You know, you don't have to jam all your shockers in one show. We can keep going, but definitely the highlight for me, highlight of the night, was the double turn, which I thought was so cool. Came out of nowhere. Like, I don't think anyone was expecting it. I wasn't expecting it. It just came out completely out of nowhere. It was well done, and it's smart, and it's reading the room, and it's giving me hope. So we'll see what happens over the next couple of weeks. Guys, that's where we're going to wrap up. We're going to end this at this point. I hope everyone enjoyed the program, because it was a good program, and I hope everyone enjoyed my recap as well. Be sure to come back for my SmackDown live review. Should be sometime soon after SmackDown. That'll be fun. And then on Wednesday over on FightfulSelect.com for my 205 Live NXT Mae Young Classic recap. Guys, thank you so very much for joining me. Wait a second here. There we go. I'm just trying stuff out. Thank you very much for joining me. And I'll see you next time.